starting to flip over and you're gonna start seeing more in the public health budget, less in the home care budget.
Okay.
So that's the 30,000 there. So the FEP grant, so we changed so the FEP grant shows 0, the line after that, the service area 1, FEP grant 12,000. So, the FEP grant is more of a pass-through kind of grant. So down below, you'll see a state federal grant, dollar amount of 50,000. So that is a money in, money out line. So that's just a projected number too. It could be, I don't think it'll be more than that, but it would be a money comes in, money goes out. So it's reflected, the 50,000 reflected in their expenses.
What does PHEP stand for?
Public health emergency preparedness.
Okay.
So, the projected revenue, the 101,300, so that's with that pass through of 50,000 in there. Okay, and then down under expenses, the salary, that would be Maggie full-time at 6%. And then Carrie and I, with the percentage that the Board of Health gave us, the same again this year with it was a 5%. So we had gotten 15 and 10. So they gave us 5% on that. So that's the salary, for the 3 of us, Maggie at full-time, and then Carrie and I's portion. And then the FICA and IPERS follows that. Employee insurance, so I actually had 10,500.
I came up with a little more, so I just put that in there just because I didn't want it to be short.
Okay, so yeah, I had originally figured 10,005, so we're a little bit different there. And then general office supplies, 1,500. Medical and lab, 1,000. And like I said, these are all new numbers, just having nothing to go off of, and kind of looking at where we're at the current year. Postage and mailing, 500, employee mileage, 1,500. Telephone, 500, and again, that's probably more than what we will need, being we only have 1 line that's connected with the phone system here now, but it's kind of a guess. And then training 1,000, and then the community outreach education 10,000, and community health or gap filling health services 12,398. That's the pass through the 50,000 from the expense, or excuse me, the revenue line coming through there. $1,000 office equipment. And then bringing down to the 75,141, which the difference there was the health insurance, so we can adjust whichever line, but we were asking Board of Health was asking for the same 75,000 again for next year.
Megan, what's in the community outreach?
So these 2 lines were, Board of Health discussed it, and we're trying to just incorporate what, we think we're gonna need. This is where we're wanting to get out into the community, start doing more education and getting into the schools and doing that outreach.
So is this something St. Anthony was doing before? Or not at all? Is this a new?
So the goal of public health is more the not giving the immunizations, doing that, but going out in the community, providing that education, being a resource. So this was kind of the line created to encompass that. Yeah.
This emergency grant is in here. Is that something that you will take this money and buy supplies for in case there's an emergency, or if there becomes an emergency? Is it possible that you won't have to use it?
Yeah, so we get, we do have some money available that if you purchase something, you get reimbursed, but it has to be approved through the state. So, like, for instance, right now we have an IT grant that the state gave us, so we were able to purchase a bunch of new computers, laptops, we got a smart TV over at the Pricky building, Zoom capabilities. And so it was, if we spent the money and it was approved, then we got reimbursed, so it's just like a pass through.
And what did you say? I'm sorry, I was writing it down, but what did you say that the salary increases was, the percentages? I didn't.
So for Maggie, who's full-time,
Full-time.
6%, yeah,
Okay.
and then the Board of Health, Carrie and I were given,
10, 15.
yep, and so they did 5%.
On that, so when they took it over, she was given 10,000, 15,000 by the Board of
I was-
Health, so
And then a 5% raise on top of that.
the Board of Health
Okay.
determined that, yes.
Okay.
The service area grant, they kind of jump in on your question, the service area grant, we are part of the service area 1A, which includes a lot of the central Iowa counties. The state gives each service area in the state a certain dollar amount, and we work together with them to go to meetings and whatnot. They give us a certain portion of the grant that service area gets. And so, yes, we can use that money for preparedness, equipment, or materials. In the case of preparing for, like with COVID, we've used that money for lots of things in the past in preparation for things, not necessarily COVID. But then when COVID came, there was additional funds that came to the counties for COVID related things. And then we couldn't use that service area money on COVID stuff because it had its own dollar amount. So we had to purchase related equipment, and but we have to go through our service area to get some things approved. We just, when we were moving around all the PPE and everything we have, they gave us funds for some shelving. We got a lot of shelving, a lot of storage cabinets, different types of storage things when we took everything back from St. Anthony's and needed more places to store items, so.
Does anybody else have any more questions?
No. That's great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for the done.
All right. Page is the next one.
Good morning, Carrie. Hi there.
How are you?
Good.
Morning, Gary.
Here, I brought you a brochure.
Thank you.
Our number is on it. If you have any questions about, this isn't related to it. I hit you up once. It looks like I start on page 35.
All right.
Good pounding going on there.
You know, we love it. Waiting for the ceiling to fall in. My name is Carrie Kersey. I'm the Environmental Health Director. So introducing myself to you. Everybody else knows me.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So environmental health, the Crawford County, we do provide environmental health services for Crawford County as well as Carroll County. They give us a lump sum. This is this current fiscal year, the first year we had it raised from 29,000 to 34,000. We did not ask for an increase on that 34, so that's reflecting in the next year's budget. The swimming pool and license, we do the swimming pool and spa inspections in both counties. I try to follow where we're at, so I just left, I've raised that a little bit based off of some previous years. Some of our, especially with swimming pool and licenses, because we do those inspections in June, July, August, which cuts the fiscal year and starts a new one, we don't always get the checks from those facilities before the new fiscal year starts. So that fluctuates every year. The sewage disposal septic tank, that's our septic inspections. Again, we never know from year to year how many systems are gonna be replaced, how many new are gonna be installed. So I left that the same.
the annual septic inspections, we do the septic pumper inspections every year. We have 3 septic pumpers in between the 2 counties. So that's the same. Well testing fees, those are well testing fees outside of the free grants to counties testing that we do. That doesn't cost the homeowners anything, but if they want some other test that does have a charge, then that's where that comes in. Radon testing, I dropped that a little bit. Radon testing will fluctuate depending on how much radon is in the news. If it's in the news a lot, we'll get a lot more people. But like daycares are required to test their rooms, so we get those every year. Tanning, we don't do funerals anymore. Tanning and tattoo inspections, looks like we raised that at $500. Other governmental fees is the case something, we have to pay something that's nothing much in there. Emergency preparedness is going to be nothing this year. So in the past, I was the fiscal agent for Carroll County's portion of that service area. And when we would bill, I would bill my time and my time would come back into the environmental health budget. But now that emergency management preparedness is part of public health, that will go into the public health budget and not into environmental health. So that is going to be 0 revenue in emergency preparedness. Well testing and abandonment, that's our grants counties money. That money comes in as a reimbursement for water tests, well pluggings that we have done. And then that money will go back out under expenditure when we reimburse the property owners for well plugging, well renovation. Passport fees will be nothing. We no longer do that program. So then that's the revenue. Is like the 108,500. The expense, then the salaries are at 6%. FICA and IFRS, the employee insurance is about 13,601 less than when I presented it to Jean and Mike. I didn't know that Sherry had dropped her husband, so now she's on a single plan instead of an employee spouse plan. So that number is 13,601 less than what I presented to you when we had our get together meeting. So that's helpful. General office supplies is the same. Minor equipment and hand tools, I raised by $50. That's typically where I will buy tape measures. A lot of that gets reimbursed through our grants to counties. We can buy some equipment through grants to counties, so that does come back. Full testing, chemicals I have to buy every other year. So that would be next year, since I bought it last year. Medical supplies and lab is the same. Utilities is the same. Postage and mailing I dropped when we were doing passports. That's where most of our postage was going. Since we're not doing that, we don't need as much under postage. Employee mileage, we try to take the county vehicle as much as we can, so we're not really doing much there, but occasionally. Food, usually it's food or something at a conference. Telephone, same. Educational training, same. Motor vehicle equipment is the same. Office data, same. Dues and memberships, we increased a little bit. We probably are paying the dues in a year we actually attend one of the meetings. And those dues keep going up, so a little bit raised there, $50. Grant expense, that's gonna be those radon test kits, we dropped that a couple $100. Well, closing and testing, that's where the revenue from up above comes out, so when a well is plugged, we can reimburse the property owner up to $500. So we get reimbursed the $50 plus $60. I mean, is all we're not making much when we go out to plug a well. The property owner is getting the majority of it. We get a little bit of administrative fee. So that I left the same. Contract services would be our perk test guy. So we send somebody out to do our perk test for us. And the contract services are the portion of doing the perk test itself, and then the mileage is in addition to. And
What's a
again,
perk test?
a soil test.
Okay.
Motor vehicle, this is, 3,000 we put into the capital account that we can build up in case we ever needed to replace a vehicle. Office equipment and furniture, I raised that a little bit this year because with our move, we might have to get it seen, a couple new chairs or something. I wasn't sure how to,
When's that gonna happen? Do you know? This coming Tuesday,
yes.
from today.
So the movers are coming to move us on Tuesday. Sharon Hartz will be out. They're moving today into their new space. They wanted the rest of the week to clean, which is perfectly fine with me. Take your time. Monday we'll get in there and see if there's any additional cleaning or what we need. And then Tuesday, they're gonna pack us up and move us. And then we'll probably spend the rest of next week just trying to get organized.
Yeah.
And you went over with Dalton already to kind of look at some of the stuff. So
Yeah,
he can help.
So
set
he
you
has an
guys up.
idea of what we need.
Okay.
A lot of it is already there, so
Okay.
that's nice. There are some things we may need. We are hoping that we can get through that IT grant that public health is getting.
Okay.
That we can get it reimbursed through that IT grant, because technically we are public health also. And if they'll cover some of that, since we're now on the same building and we're gonna share space and the county, we don't have to cover that either. The last page is passport expense, which would be nothing since we're not doing that. program.
Also, at 911 EMA, Sarah Anderson said she's gonna move her office over there too.
Oh, okay.
They
So
they
that
voted
whole-
on it that night up there.
Where that whole basement space will be available, we will leave the desks there. That way you don't have Zach or having to move furniture out of an office to bring it down to an office to use it and then take it back. The desks that are in the sheriff's office, they may leave us some desks from Caring Hearts. We're not really sure until after they've got everything out. So those are sitting in the old jail space right now. If we need it, we'll take it. If we don't need it, then I guess it's fair game.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, good shit. Who's next?
Jamie. Ambulance. Cindy, I will tell you the ambulance one gets a little tricky just because of all the different, I don't know how to explain it.
Their payrolls.
Just, yeah. The payroll's tricky.
They work 48-hour shifts.
He's not here yet.
That's fine.
24 hours is a different, the first 24 hours pay is different than the second 24 hours.
But for him to put it in here, he actually is gonna have a handout for you that's gonna try and help explain it a little bit better than just trying to look at through this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then after that, we have IT, and then the sheriff come back and have a conversation. I'm gonna Morning, Jamie.
So what? Is this what I printed out already last night? No?
Thanks, Jamie. Yeah, she will be. Which page? I know you're not gonna follow this, you're gonna do this, but which
Right.
page?
I mean, basically, the sheet, the first one I could get,
Is this?
it's basically yours going down from top to bottom.
Okay.
And it's got it all the way back to fiscal year 20, so for comparison, if you guys want to look at them.
Do you know what page it is?
Oh, I don't.
I don't even- I'm just gonna follow this.
I'm gonna follow this.
Okay. All right. And who are you?
My name is Jamie Webb. I am the
Okay.
director of Carroll County. Ambulance.
Okay. Have you met Cindy?
Just when I come in the meeting every once in a while, not formally.
Okay. And then you've met Mike,
I
right?
can.
No.
Everybody else we know, right?
Yeah, thank you, babysitting.
All right, let's get started. Thanks for being here today, Jamie.
You bet. Thanks for having me. I
Let's
sent
do
out that email yesterday, kind of giving some explanations of why I'm doing what and where. Couple of the things, you know, I watched most of the meetings you guys had yesterday, the insurance. I had it as a preventative just in case. Essentially, it's about 60,000 higher than what we absolutely need to have. So, I mean, kind of the consensus I got yesterday from kind of what Gene was saying was put it where we need to have it, and then if we need to do a budget amendment, we can do that. And that's completely fine. But basically, in order to cover everybody the way it sits right now with a single plan, it's about 180,000, just over 180,000 instead of the 202.
But I mean, you're figuring the ones that have a family, you're figuring them as a family.
So I'm figuring exactly how it is right now
Yeah.
with an extra single plan, because basically. The newest person that I hired to fill the full-time position does not feel as though he's gonna utilize the insurance. He was a 3/4 person, so I'm going to hire a new 3/4 person. Who knows if they're gonna take the insurance or not, so most likely they are, because that's the big perk for the 3/4.
Well, my point was a lot of people thinking to hire new instead of putting in the worst case scenario. A full
That's
time.
what I did here.
And I've been saying, why should we tax what we don't know?
Right,
Let's just put a single in. We can do a budget amendment later on.
yep.
So you'd be comfortable at 181?
The way it sits right now, it'd be like 188.34. something like that.
So you can see this on the graph, go halfway through the page. That's
It's
where,
down on insurance, right?
yeah,
Yeah, so it'd be 180,204, the way it sits right now with a single plan.
so you're gonna do. What do you wanna put in there? Cause right now you have 202,
Do 181.
181.
Yep.
Okay.
And that does include so Rayanne and Wendy both retired. Part of their insurance is gonna fall into fiscal year 24.
Yep.
So that's included in all that.
Okay.
I didn't hear you.
So. This sheet that I gave you and go down.
Go ahead and keep going. I'll be back.
We're not gonna be able to do it. All right, so the ambulance services, that's basically our revenue. We generally stick right around 1.1 million for revenue. In the past, we've always had it 950,000. After doing pre-budget, we kind of talked about raising it to between 1 million and 1.1 million. So I put it at 1,050,000. Currently.
So $100,000 increase in revenue.
Yes, so. As we sit right now, year to date, we're at 862,658 is what we brought in so far. That equals out to about $107,000 a month, so I just did 4 months at $107,000, that should put us right at just under 1.3 million. For revenue for the fiscal year 23. Perfect, or 22, sorry. or, no, sorry.
23.
23.
So why was your fiscal year 197,214?
So we get our deposits come in different fashions. Some will come right to here, some will go to their electronic file to a bank account. Right now, there is about $582,000 in that account.
Oh, okay,
So
so,
it's not all in there.
all right,
So occasionally, you know, I'll have Lisa transfer money out of that account back into our revenue fund. But what I kind of thought is,
because when I looked at that last night, I thought,
yeah,
okay, well,
that would
Not
not be
gonna add
very
up.
good this year, so. I'm letting it sit. We do get a little interest on it, doesn't amount to much, so my thought is I'll let it sit in there. And then before the end of the fiscal year, then I'll transfer all but probably $20,000 into there. So then it'll bump everything up to the 1.1.
okay, that's
The, in that is the GEMT as well. So far, year to date, we brought in 123,000. For GEMT. And so expected with that is to be through the fiscal year is just under $186,000. So that's on the next slide for the GEMT.
So does that take into what we're paying them also? Or is this,
That's just the complete revenue that we brought in. That doesn't have anything subtracted for anything that we're paying out to GEMT or to PCG.
okay. So they don't take their cut first.
No, so, and we'll
So
get to
this
that
could be
part.
misleading.
Yep, we'll get to that part
Thank you.
a little bit later, but
Do you know why the revenue the GMT revenue is not going in that line? Is it going in here? Or is it have none of it been put in there yet? Are you still holding on to that?
no, when it goes into the accounts, we can separate it by doing a report that I had. built.
Okay, so you have that. Okay.
Yeah, we can do a report I just had her do it this morning, the fiscal year 23 report. So that's what we're setting as that 123.
31.
Okay, thank you.
So, any questions on those, Stephen?
You could explain maybe to the new members what GEMT
Oh.
is.
Yes.
Basically, the insurance companies don't pay for it, correct? This is a state program that we follow all their guidelines and we pay in, basically amounts to about $85,000 a year. We get extra reimbursement back. It averages to about $890 per call, but that's only for insurers with AmeriGroup and with Medicaid. So it doesn't cover all of our calls, just only those that are insured with those.
It's basically.
It's a collection agency.
Right, yeah.
And what you do is, what they're doing is making sure we get it coded right to get the most benefit out, right?
They don't necessarily code it. You just get an extra $890 for the AmeriGroup calls and Medicaid calls and total care. So it's just, those are what we get reimbursed the least on. So it's just an extra bump as long as we, basically PCG is a consulting group. It's a law firm. And we'll get into that a little bit later, but they bill basically we started this in 2021, they bill for 2021 and 2023. So that's coming through. That'll be the spring of 2023.
So what's the acronym? What is that?
G. Honestly, I can't even tell you. It's been so long since I looked at it. I just know it's GEMT. But I mean,
And I think Carroll kind of stumbled on this, I think somehow.
yeah, he started it all. I know he did a lot of work to get this passed and, you figure if we're bringing in 185,000 overall, and our expenses are approximately 85,000, we're still $100,000 ahead of what we would have been without it.
It almost-
So basically, it's like a commission-based collection agency, somewhat.
I wouldn't consider it a collection agency. It's just basically if you comply, then you get this extra money. And not everybody utilizes it.
I said before, we weren't getting that money,
No.
so.
No, we would get paid, generally reimbursement on an insurance call is 30 to 35%.
Well, it's basically to the state, because we pay them a fee to pay the state to do the work what the state was supposed
Right,
to.
it's through the Iowa Medicaid Medicare program, and then like the PCG with the consulting group is who we pay also.
It's complicated,
Yeah, it's very complicated. That's why I can't remember that.
but it works.
Yeah.
You know, when we got presented to us, it almost sounded to be too good to be true.
Right.
But we. That's works.
Manning returns, so. It was last year, we added a budget line for the Manning returns, so what happens is. We have a contract with Acura Nursing Home in Manning. That's to take the residents from Manning Regional to Acura in Manning. If we cannot bill insurance for that, we bill them directly $201. Prior to me starting as director, it was set up to that. Basically, each member that transported that patient back gets $100 each for that. So this is basically a pass through. It's nothing, I mean, we bring the money in, we send it right back out. That's kind of an incentive to them. We do the same thing with Thomas Stress Haven, which is more because it's down back in Coon Rapids from Carroll, Acura and Regency. But the ones that are at Carroll, it doesn't get paid out to the employees. It's just, it comes in as revenue for us.
Yeah.
Only the Manning ones do because they're essentially volunteer. So, and I know last year there must have been a typo or somebody was budgeted as 30,000, but it was actually supposed to be 80. Currently, what they've used so far this fiscal year is $402. It's more than that because I know there's been more transfers back than that. I just haven't gotten a bill from the Manning representative. Miscellaneous, that's where we get a donation or if, the state baseball. So I billed them for all the overtime and some of the materials used and they reimbursed us back for that. So that goes in the miscellaneous and then now get reappropriated into another budget line for any, shortfall or whatever it was used for. Some would go to supplies or payroll. So that's why it's higher this year than because we've had some more miscellaneous reimbursements.
So do you think that will grow with RAG? Is there
No,
there won't be any reimbursement from RAG?
I highly doubt it.
But this comes from Iowa State High School Athletic Association?
This one, the one for the state baseball
Yeah.
came from actually the city of Carroll.
Okay,
They get reimbursed through the state.
okay.
So you don't, for your services to be readily available for RAG-BRAI is just,
It's our service to be available.
Okay.
We're at the meetings every 2 weeks right now. When there's a certain meeting that is gonna be where they're gonna have the medical director for RAG-BRAI there, I'll know more then if there's reimbursements, but as of right now, I'm not sure, so I guess I should say no, but
Okay.
there's a possibility, but I highly doubt it.
thank you.
The vehicle capital fund, we did increase that last year due to increased costs of ambulances. And the things that go in it. We got lucky when we ordered this one early enough. We still don't have it and who knows when we're gonna get it, but they're thinking May. But I'm gonna leave that alone. And then, also part of the last ambulance that was purchased with some of the funds that was supposed to be appropriated for this area. So it's kind of a catch up and work ahead type thing. So I want to leave that alone this year. Next year, we're gonna have to look at ordering an ambulance again in order to get it on schedule, because we do a 3-year rotation. So if we're gonna be waiting a year and a half, 2 years for an ambulance, we have to start a little bit earlier. And then I can get a better idea of what the extra cost is gonna be for that ambulance. at
When
that
did
time.
you order one now?
What's that? I'm sorry.
When did you order this one now?
January 15th of last year. I believe was the date that we ordered it. Initially, we were told November to February, and then 2 weeks ago, when I talked to the vendor, they're looking at May. It is in production. So it's just a matter of getting it here. The big wait was on
So
chassis.
it was only 13 months ago that you ordered it. I thought it was a year prior.
No, I formed the committee in November of 21.
Okay,
And then we ordered it. We went through everything, we got all the bids submitted and we ordered it in January.
it's quicker.
Yeah, and I know there's other places that are out over 2 years. But it's just kind of being proactive, because we don't like to keep the ambulances in Carroll, over 150,000. And we kind of, the oldest ambulance to go to another town And then we either get rid of one or reappropriate it somewhere else.
I was looking at here, somewhere in your stuff that you sent me last night, you said that you got what, 5 out of the 7 are over 200,000
Right.
miles?
Yeah, and the one in
We
Manning's.
we could be getting caught. We should be behind the 8 ball already.
That's what's
But the
happening.
thing is, those last 5 probably, they're on just short trips, right?
Right, yep. The ambulance that was purchased in 2016 already has almost 180,000 miles on it. So what I've done is I've taken it out of we have an ambulance rotation. I've taken it out every other time. And then we put that on the oldest ambulance that's in Carroll in order to put the miles on that. To kind of save it. I mean, we've had a lot of downtime with some ambulances due to accidents and just miscellaneous repairs, and that one ambulance seems like it's getting all the
So
transfers
do you have a target, your target on your ambulances?
now.
Targets?
Well, we had a target, but now I put a preventative measure in place and we got guards on them all.
35 and 36 both have guards.
35 does not, it's the van chassis and it's gonna be leaving Carroll. Because that's the oldest one, but 36, 37, and the newest ambulance will all have one there. But you figure the one deer hit, took that ambulance out of service for a month. Where if with a grill guard at basically $3,000, it's gonna save, the damage to the vehicle, and it's not gonna be out of service. You might have a bent bumper, hopefully, but you never know, that thing might hit weird.
Yeah.
But it's just, the extra cost of the bumpers was well worth, yeah. All right, equipment cap, it's kind of the same exact thing as the vehicle. Everything's went up, we got lucky, we ordered stuff early enough, and it's all, the stuff for the new ambulance is up pretty much all here as far as equipment goes. So now we get into, anybody have any questions on the capital? We get into salaries, basically the increase on the full-time salaries is the union negotiated rate. I did, as you've seen in the paper, I am asking for a little bit more for myself. With some extra duties that have been added that are ultimately benefiting Carroll County Ambulance. And I do have in those 2 sheets that I gave you, I do have an explanation. And I do have comparisons from the surrounding counties, if you want to look at that now, or if you want to wait until we get done to go over that.
We're on the salary part.
Just do it now,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, okay. The non-transport ambulances and some of the satellite ones, you have to keep everything up to date with the state. There's a site called the Amanda site. Basically, it tracks all of your responders and everything that goes along with it. Well, it wasn't being kept up to date, which could negatively affect Carroll County Ambulance. So we signed affiliation agreements with all of the non-transport towns, and we now do all of that, which it's quite the undertaking initially, and then you have to, sometimes the staff changes over, so we have to update that on a frequent basis. With that, there's continuous quality improvement, and Scott's kind of seen what I do with that, but I read every single report that's written in the entire county. Initially, without those affiliation agreements, it was right around 2,500. Now I'm reading 2 reports for the same call, sometimes 3 reports for the same call, depending on who responded. So it's added approximately 500, I would say 500 reports a year. And when you read through those, and I do the continuous quality improvement on, or CQI is what we call it, to where I do constructive criticism. So something I'm working on, like with Manning and King Rapids, is if they have a advanced level provider, if applicable, do the advanced level stuff, because then we can build more for it. So, and we're doing it, I'm not having them fabricate anything or do it if it isn't needed. It's just if that patient needs that IV or if they need that medication, give them the medication. Prior, they were more of a load and go. So they load the patient up, they do the basic level stuff, and then you only get reimbursed for the basic level stuff. So by doing this stuff, there's some more reimbursement too. Prior to me taking over, there was somebody that was assigned to do the CQI, and they received 12 hours a month of duty time to do that. With me doing it myself, I just do it during business hours, and it saves about $6,000 a year.
So it's underneath the director umbrella now.
Right. You know, I figure nobody cares for anybody that's offering them criticism, especially in the paramedic and EMS world. So I'm their boss, they all hate me anyway, so I just won't make it worse. I don't think they hate me, but rather than putting it on somebody else, you know, it's just, and I'm very particular and, you know, even with the full-time staff, you know, try to do this, try to do that, you know. Consider this, consider that, you know, like, and Dr. Nystrom reads over some of them that I give to him, and he even left me a note saying the documentation has greatly improved over the last 2 years from what it used to be. But it's all, I do a lot of CYA type stuff, you know, if you ever go to court, that way, you know, you have that stuff in there. What else is there? So like we just recently redid all of our protocols, in order to provide better care to the residents of Carroll County. We added medications. Some of those medications are paralytics to where they have to be very strictly tracked. So now we can do what's called rapid sequence innovation for people that aren't maintaining their own airway. So the state is very, very strict, and the pharmacy board is very, very strict on what comes in, what goes out, how it's used, and it has to be tracked down to the vial. It does take time. I have to go through it every single month on a regular basis, and I go through it every single day. Again, with those, I read all the reports that are associated with those. So sometimes I'm reading the same report 3 or 4 times. This takes more time. Again, it's helping the residents of Carroll County, and it just adds more time to my plate. So like with shift coverage, I try not to do any overtime unless absolutely necessary. I'll cover shifts myself before I do some overtime.
But you don't get paid overtime.
No, I still, you know, want to provide patient care. I go out on calls. If there is a medic 3 need, if I'm available, I'll cover medic 3. And there again, don't get paid any overtime for it. Last year, I had approximately 540 hours of overtime. January alone, preparing for this and getting ready for the manning stuff, I had almost 90 hours of overtime just in January. And the scheduling beforehand was, most of it was done by another staff member, but I do it myself because I like to make sure everybody is treated fairly, and they all, if they sign up for a shift, you know, it's kind of spread out equally, because I know how it feels when one person's getting all the shifts because of favoritism, even though you've been there for years longer. So I just want to make sure everything's handed out fair.
Is there anyone, don't know anything about the ambulance?
We're a whole different breed.
Is there anyone that you can delegate to help you?
I can, but I'm a little OCD. I like to do it myself. And it's not just that, it's not that I don't trust somebody, it's just
It's not a bad habit.
right. I like to know exactly what's going on, you know, and if me being very particular, like he said, is not a bad thing. Somebody may not look at that report the same way. And say, you know, could have done that, could have done that. The scheduling, like I just explained, I just want to make sure everything's fair and equal, because you don't want to necessarily hand everything over to one person and then have another PRN staff be mad and not ever sign up for shifts again. Because those are the people that cover your overtime and your vacations and sick, you know, the when people call in sick. But I mean, I can delegate, and there is things that I do delegate out. It's just certain things I just want to do myself.
Other things, I don't think anybody wants you to get yourself, get burned out.
Right.
I mean, I see that in some.
Yeah, and it's sometimes it's seasonal, the overtime side of it, especially around this time of year with union negotiations and the budget. But I've been working, you know, gathering data for, you know, the satellite ambulances, so I track their numbers down to a T.
Keep going on this. We can discuss after.
Yeah, no problem. And I go on calls and I do training with staff, so as far as like comparisons, you can kind of read down those, but there's no real good way to compare Carroll County ambulance to anybody that's surrounding, because we do things different. And it works for us. But it's, there, you got hospital based, you got not hospital based, you got, but nobody really is not hospital based and runs as many calls as we do. With the exception of Dallas County, and I know they're currently looking for a director, and the past director was making $106,000. And they didn't oversee billing, they had fewer staff, fewer ambulances than what Carroll has, where I mean, I
They
oversee.
had fewer than Carroll, Dallas. Was all the, do they have a lot of private ones under them?
Some of them have private, so a lot of these are having private, like Calhoun,
What's PRN?
as needed staff. Okay. So those are the ones that fill in when someone wants to take vacation.
With the population they got down there.
Yeah, like Calhoun, their budget is 1.4 million. They run about 1,000 calls a year, which is under half of what we run.
Yeah, well. Wow. Calhoun is exceptional and everything.
Yeah, how they doing?
And then, and it's not only that, it's like Sac County. They run half the call, or less than half the calls, or about a third of the calls that we do. And their budget, I think, was $884,000 or $885,000. And his projected salary for fiscal year 24 is $80,000.
Did Calhoun County pass the emergency special levy?
You know,
I was just curious. If they did or not.
That might be coming to counties near us soon.
Honest.
yeah, I know the director up there, and I've worked with him, and he's kind of a. Yeah. He doesn't like to divvy out information.
Yeah.
Is he a county employee?
Yeah,
Okay, I
I-
can call up there and get his
Well,
salary from the auditor.
I tried looking up the salary and I couldn't even find it. So, but I don't know how it's all divvied out, but, like the Dallas was probably the closest, with the exception of they only oversee 1 or 3 ambulances, that's compared to the 7 that I oversee.
All right, let's roll through the budget.
All right,
I appreciate the detail, but
Mhm.
no problem.
Thanks for the comparables.
yes.
Yeah. So we'll be on the salaries part-time. Basically, I trended this over since 2020. And then I also keep track of every ounce of overtime or part-time that part-timers work. I use the pay increase for like the call pay. And I applied it to the same numbers as the last 2 years, and it still fell underneath that amount. So as long as there's nothing that is very unforeseen that happens, that amount should still be sufficient. So it shouldn't be any increase in that. Last year, we did have 2 staff members that were out at the same time with injury. One of them was out for approximately 8 months. So there was a lot of overtime and a lot of PRN staff working those, so, and we're still should fall well underneath that amount. Overtime holiday. There again, I did all the calculations for it, and it's just with that 105,000 or 105,700 should be enough to cover that. But I gave Courtney kind of a rundown of all that stuff, and I think he looked it over and verified. Your FICA, I just used the salaries, and that's how we came up with that. And then the IPER's kind of the same way. And I figured everything pretty close, and I gave it just a very little bit of fluff, so hopefully it doesn't come back to bite me. Then we get to the insurance like we talked about. I mean, we can do the 181,000. Please do. Down that way to change that. And then just do the budget amendment if need be. Fuel. So set the budget amount for last year, and then fuel shot up, and then our transfers went up. So basically, if you see the fiscal year 23 used, that's basically 6 months worth. I ended that on December 31st. So we are already at the budget amount for the entire year for December 31st. We're using up to that point, we're using about $3,700 worth of fuel a month. I figured it up this morning. We're down, if I figure in 8 months, we're down to $3,100, which would fall underneath that right at the 38,000. foresee/hope that fuel is gonna continue to drop a little bit. And we can't control numbers as far as call numbers, transfer numbers, but they kind of fluctuate these days with,
Don't you get 15 or 16 bucks back a mile for every transfer?
well, that's what we bill.
That's okay.
And it depends on the level of call and what we get reimbursed back. Any questions on the fuel? Kind of a given, there's not much I can do about it, unfortunately. Vehicle repairs, the state started January 1st that we have to get DOT inspections. Well, that's finding some repairs that need to be made. And I just raised that $2,000 because I think we can fall within that 30,000 even with the extra repairs. Because we've been down from in prior years. Office supplies, they just went up slightly, so I just added $1,000 for that. Medical supplies, we've been staying pretty consistent. I think one of the only things that might play this year is rag bri, but we're already taking measures to try to prepare for that. And ordering some extra stuff as we go instead of all in one lump sum.
Yeah.
So I still feel that that's gonna be enough. But there again, that's dependent on your call volume and we can't control that, but. Uniforms, gonna leave that alone as well. Publications. I personally think that we can get rid of that budget line. We can roll it into office supplies or something. So the only time it's ever used is to advertise for a job opening, and using the local papers does absolutely nothing. Because we already have all the paramedics that work around here, or EMTs for the most part. So I switched to using like Facebook and IAMSA, which even IAMSA is a state website for the Iowa EMS Association. You get very low feedback with that, and that's mostly due to pay, but
Yeah, let's take it off. Sounds great.
perfect. Postage, left that alone. I just transferred money into there last month, so we should be good on that as long as it stays the same. Mileage and meals, gonna leave that alone as well. Phone and internet, I did put another $500 on that. Internets went up, phones went up, and that also includes television. So all that stuff's kind of went up. I did take a big jump last year, and then just with the trends of this year and it going up a little bit in January, I just added the $500.
That includes all locations, correct?
The only, that's just there.
Okay.
We don't take care of
They do that out of their,
on their own. Yep. Yep, so that's just there. The PCG, that's a consulting group for the GEMT funds. It's been budgeted roughly $10,000 years prior. Like I said before, they start billing us now for 2021. Being proactive, I did contact them just to verify that $10,000 is gonna be enough, and they said, well, it's probably gonna be $15,000 or right at, a little under, a little over. So we increased that by $5,000. They now have the numbers for that. He thought it was gonna be right at $15,000. The GEMT, we have set at $70,000. Cost for that has actually went down. Because it all depends on the numbers that you're running, the non-transports and all that stuff. So if we wanted to, we could probably drop that by $5,000. What I figured up.
keep on going with these lowerings. I like it.
I know, but I just don't, my thing is I like to be prepared and I don't want to get caught in the end and then have to go budget amendment next year, but I still think we'll be fair there because it ends up being like $56,000 is what we're currently paying, but that will possibly change after this fiscal year.
Yeah.
Natural gas I left alone. We've been pretty good sitting there. Electric I left alone. Water, building maintenance. So we moved into the building in 2005 and it's starting to show its wear and tear. Dalton said we needed an IT overhaul. And I mean, like I've talked to Stephanie and Scott about, ultimately we need to look at doing an exterior overhaul in that building. With everything going on, I didn't figure this was a year to start looking at that, but. And I thought about it more this morning when I was just looking this over. We could. If we drop that down to probably $4,000, we could get by until we actually do that overhaul. The back door is all rotted out and thresholds loose on it, and the other thing is some of the repairs that we've been doing, we're trying to do them on our own unless it requires a licensed person. I've done construction for years. One of the guys that works full-time, he's been doing plumbing, so we do a lot of the stuff on it. So we could keep that at 4,000, I mean, that should cover everything that we need to do unless something unforeseen happens. We had a heater go out this year. We had 3 springs break on the overhead doors. They all need to be replaced. We had to replace pretty much every hinge on the overhead doors because they were breaking. So it's just it's time for a little bit of an upgrade, but so we'll have to look into doing that in the next.
So what are you talking about dropping that down to?
4,000
From 15?
No,
No,
from the 6,000 additional. So basically
Back.
back to 16 instead of 18.
Being back to,
For the budgeted amount. So it
So
was
going from 12 to 16.
12 to 16 instead of 12 to 18. Radio, that's what, the only thing we're using that for now is to purchase pagers. All of our pagers are fairly old. We did purchase 4 new ones, this fiscal year, and I'm gonna try to get another 4 before the end of this fiscal year. So that's what we use that for. We've got a good handful of them to replace.
Back up here on this maintenance, you said Dalton wants to needs to do an overhaul too. What does that have connection with the building?
So when he came down, he talked to me, basically, all the wiring needs to be replaced. It's outdated wiring from 20 years ago. Modems need to be replaced and different things like that. His thought after we talked was with this possible building upgrade was that it'd be way easier to do that when they had steel and stuff off rather than trying to push wires down through the wall.
They could do it at the same time.
Yeah, so it would save,
That, and then say steel, yeah, okay.
with the, and on that. I don't know who did it, but the building was leaking water, so what they did was they took railroad ties and put them up against the building and they caulked it. Well, the caulking is all loose, so anytime we get a north rain or east rain, there's water in the building.
Well, that's just a band-aid.
Yeah, exactly, and the Band-Aid's broke, because it's the last time we got a heavy rain out of the east, my office is full of water. Yeah. And part of that too, that 6,000, I was thinking.
Big budget, boots, water boots.
Yeah. The part of that 6,000 out of that was putting new carpet in, but the more I thought about it, it's like, well, we need to get the problem solved first before we. We're gonna clean the carpet that's in there.
Smart putting a curb along that.
On the backside, it'll work very well that way. On the east side, it's gonna be kind of creative to try to get something there because there's an alley right there. And there's a lot of water that comes down that area too. So, but you put a curb there, you disrupt that ground underneath that. There's a chance that water could just go underneath that and then come back up and go to the building again. So it's gonna take some thinking in order to stop that. Cause it's basically a pole barn is what the building is. It's radio left alone. All right, on rent. You two probably aren't familiar.
Explain in the room, yeah.
Okay, so. We have 4 satellite ambulances within the county. 3 of those get $21,600 a year. Basically, that goes for expenses associated with the ambulance, be it payroll. Housing the ambulance, their phone, their internet, all that stuff. The problem we're running into, well, in Templeton gets 6,000, that was just added last year. The problem we're running into is we can have those ambulances in those 4 cities or 4 towns, but we are running out of staff to staff that. We need to start doing something to be proactive to retain and recruit. Otherwise, we're gonna be going to Manning from Carroll and to Coon from Carroll. And the 30% of basically their calls are non-transport. So imagine what our fuel bill is gonna be And over time, if it's a second crew that's going down there to a non-transport that we're generating no revenue from. So that's why I think it's important to, ultimately what I'm asking for is a Band-Aid. Until we can get a bigger plan in place, which is gonna be more money, but.
The word rent is
Will
very
you-
deceiving.
It is deceiving. Will you explain to me, like, I'm a breeder resident, so if you have one sitting there, do you have somebody that's on staff there? Is it someone that's a volunteer that it's, or how does that work? If you get a
So-
call there.
In Rita and Templeton, there's nobody continuously on call. They show up if they can. So there's no guarantee, but they're
So
called.
might look at towing and might run over there and
Right.
grab it.
And that's exactly what happens is like, there's one guy that works almost right across the street from the ambulance station.
Okay.
He's almost on every call. That money's dispersed to Rita and then they pay their staff what they want. I know they don't get paid they don't get paid an on-call pay.
Yeah.
They get paid like a stipend for responding to that call. And if they transport that patient, then they get an extra stipend. And if they write the report, they get an extra stipend.
That's not coming through your budget.
Right, the 21,000
Thousand is,
but
but
after that, then
they budget their own.
Yep, they
yeah.
take care of the IPers, they take care of the FICA, the workman's comp,
Okay,
and everything else. We just pay them that money and then they kind of go with it. That's the same thing with Templeton. Their call volume is very, very low, but there again, you're 20 minutes away, for either almost 20 minutes away for Templeton.
I'm asking questions, I'm learning, so like most of these counties that you showed me in here that don't have very many ambulances, that's what they're doing.
No, they have volunteer only. You never know what's gonna happen. Right now we have in Breda, there's a good group up there that we generally don't have an issue. We don't always have advanced level coverage, so then we tier with them.
Okay.
And same goes with Templeton and same goes with Coon. However, with Coon and Manning, they have on-call staff. Essentially, in both places, they get paid $1.67 an hour to be on call. They go on a call, they don't bump up to anything. They're still getting $1.67 an hour. Manning's average call time is about 40 minutes because a lot of their stuff's in town. So they don't have quite as much involved in with the call, but you figure.
Get transported to Manning Hospital.
Right.
I didn't hear.
Yeah, so, but you still figure, even though their call time is 40 minutes, they still have another at least hour to an hour and a half of cleanup, restocking the rig and writing the report. And they don't get paid any extra for that. They get the $1.67 an hour. And a lot of these people have to clock out of their job in order
Are
to,
they getting something besides that, or what do they do it?
that's it.
That's $1.67 an hour.
Volunteer.
It's essentially volunteer.
This is what Ben, he was saying, Carroll's unique. Carroll County probably had the best EMS system in the state as far as I'm concerned. And it's all due to when they first started the first responders, and then they went to EMTs and all this. But every community has had a first responder in it at one point or time. So we had people within minutes of that call. But that's not the case in the state of Iowa. You can go in some places, it's a damn desert.
Baird has an ambulance sitting there, and that's what it does, it sits there. Either Coon Rapids goes to Baird to respond, or Honora has to come up to respond, so essentially, like for Manning, if we can't staff that ambulance, you could have a loved one essentially dying in front of you, they're gonna wait 40 minutes for an ambulance. And,
What's your call response time from here to there usually?
we don't generally go to Manning at all.
Okay.
Coon Rapids, if we go all the way down there, you're looking at about 30 minutes.
By the time you get the call and get there.
Right, yep, and if that's a call crew doing that, then you can add an extra 10 minutes to that because they have 10 minutes to respond to the station.
Yeah.
Generally, they're way under that, but like Manning and Coon are both set up the same way. We send them their $21,600 a year and they disperse it appropriately to their staff.
I see.
And basically what I'm trying to put into place is a stipend for those that are writing the reports, that aren't getting paid while they're gone from work. Another issue we run into is, these people work for a living and they're essentially is sometimes we're waiting days or months for a report to get written. If that report doesn't get written in a timely manner, we can't bill for it. So part of that would be a requirement that report's written within 48 hours. If they don't write the report within 48 hours, they don't get a stipend. But it's gonna be kind of a learning curve, but we definitely need to do something. It's
There's a lot of things need to change.
Yeah. Volunteerism is down. And it would be really hard to want to step up and leave, let's just say you're making $16 an hour, whatever that number is, to go make $1.67.
The hospital's been, letting, in a pinch, they've been letting some of their nurses that actually work for Manning ambulance, leave, and they still pay them. And if they volunteer so many hours a year, they pay them an extra $500 or $1,000 a year.
Yeah.
I've talked to one of the representatives of Manning Hospital to try to do like maybe a co-op with them. They do have a paramedic that works at night, and some of the nurses can transition into a nurse exemption, to where maybe those paramedics can work in the ER and then respond to the ambulance. There again, it's still gonna be a shared cost, but like I said, if you have to picture us going down there, sometimes they'll have 4 non-transports a day. And that takes an ambulance out of Carroll if it's going down to Manning, it's 2 hours. And then you have to pay all that fuel and you're getting 0 reimbursement. And Coon Rapids will be even worse. So trying to retain and recruit staff for those ambulances is very important. One of the staff that works in Manning, he works almost every single day of the week.
So does the county own the ambulance down there?
They own the ambulances and everything in it.
Yep.
And when they go on, we supply them with all the supplies they go on calls with. Basically, and we pay them that $21,600 a year.
Yep.
To the city, and then they pay it out before the year.
So just a little backup, what I've been doing on the backside. The first responders and firemen get a small stipend on their taxes. In the state of Iowa, they apply for it. I'm trying to get that raised, and also on the federal level. That was one of the things I talked about in DC. Because I think it's gotta be not just only locally here, but it's gonna have stuff done, right, state and federal.
Right.
Or we're gonna lose all our volunteers.
And the thing is that doesn't even apply to EMS. EMS gets nothing. EMS is not considered an essential service in the state.
They didn't get that.
Just fire. Just fire.
And I'm trying to get.
Yeah, I mean, county does not have to have the ambulance satellite, but it's actually cost effective. And it's, in my mind, what I look at is patient care. It's very effective for patient care to have an ambulance like a Manning there in less than 10 minutes. Coon Rapids is less than 10 minutes, more like 5. But if you're waiting for a loved one that's eventually dying, their time is muscle, time is life, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sanitation.
Okay, sanitation, landfill fees and dumpster rentals went up, so I upped that by $250. Refunds, that just kind of varies, so that's just a generic budget amount.
The landfill fees did not go up here. All remind us, the landfill fees did not go
Well,
up.
they went up. They went up, what, 2 years ago? Cots and monitors. So a lot of stuff wasn't getting preventative maintenance done to it. And it's important that that's done. So that is being done now. And then it just, there again, like the vehicles, it's finding some issues that need to be resolved. One of our monitors, there's a tiny little pump that does the blood pressures in it. It's a $40,000 monitor. That pump was $2,300 to get fixed. And it just, yeah, I mean, it's atrocious what it costs, but so now that all the preventative maintenance is being done like it's supposed to, it's just finding some things that need to be addressed. And maintenance contracts, I left that alone. That's basically like our billing software we use, the scheduling software we use, the maintenance contracts that I have on the equipment, because that's just a separate line, because I use the cots and monitors as far as to fix them. And across the bottom, you'll see like overall what was budgeted for the entire year, what was used. You know, in the past, we've been about $200,000 under the budgeted amount.
A strong recommendation would be to go spend time at the ambulance department. I'd be really wanted to know. It is, yeah, it's an animal in itself. And
like
also
the
keep in
details.
mind, this spring, I would like to have an open house at your raising and start to recognize you guys for all your hard work and certificates that you've received. But on behalf of the board, thank you for everything you do, Jamie.
Yes,
It's a group effort. It's all of us that put it together. We have a very good group.
We're very fortunate, but just want you to know it doesn't go unnoticed.
We aim to please.
All right, now get out of here before you have to go on then.
Well, he does have two more areas.
Oh,
that-
medical center.
Well, that,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
was thinking Pike and I first, which is just, it comes out of supplemental. And then his capital fund doesn't doesn't look like you're gonna be buying anything.
The FICA and IFRS I addressed earlier on. I just didn't put it down there.
Sorry.
But, well, I am in charge of the medical examiner budget as well. Basically, I upped the,
What page is that on?
I don't know. if you've got-
What department is that? 30 something. Do something.
The medical examiner went from 200,
No,
Shit.
150 to 200, right?
no. a couple years
Page
ago.
28.
Oh,
2 years ago it did, and then it is, the
Then
wording
went
of
to
it was,
211.
it follows the union negotiated raise, so.
gotcha. Okay,
so it went up to $211.
Oh, not union, the county. The medical
Sorry,
examiner's
yes,
county.
Sorry, yes, yes.
okay,
So then it went up to 5.5%. This year will go up to
Six,
6%
another 6%.
on top of the $211
Right.
per call.
okay.
And there again, that's completely uncontrolled. We have.
You don't know how many
no
people are gonna die.
Right, we hope none, but I mean, it's inevitable. And then the capital fund with the ambulance, I got an amount from her, what we have in there now.
I'm on page 28.
Am I going too fast for you?
No, I just want to see the capital fund.
That's not on. page 28. That is prior to.
No,
page
that's right
5.
behind where we were just at.
Okay, 32.
And that was kind of one of the first things we went through to leave it alone, is that. Like I said, as far as the equipment capital fund, we basically have everything for the new ambulance. Here, I did receive the last bill of any of the equipment. So, right now, we're sitting at, if I'm reading it correctly, the $247,236. And we have not put fiscal year 23 in there yet. So there's gonna be another 92,000 on top of
What's an
that.
ambulance fund?
With everything in it, the last one was 298,000.
Is that what they got to? Is that with
With-
everything in it?
That's everything. That's, so basically, that's the capital and, or the ambulance capital and the equipment capital together. Yeah, I think it was 289,000, 284,000,
Just say 300.
right? Just as well.
By the time you throw a deer in it.
So after we put that 92,000 there, we'll have 339, 236, then essentially you're gonna have 200 and approximately 240 coming out of that. So we'll have, that's where it got us caught up, and we're planning for the future. And then hopefully we can just leave it at 92,000 and it covers the ambulance purchase in the future.
Every 3-year reflection.
Every 3 years, so 2025 will be our next year.
And then also just for information, so once one of the ambulances comes out of the fleet of Carroll, it goes to one of the satellite.
Right.
He keeps track of which one needs updated or.
Where it goes and all
Yeah.
that, yeah.
One of my thoughts initially was to possibly add another satellite. Ideally, Lanesboro would be a great place. However, they don't have any staff to run. They have 3 responders, 2 of them are EMRs, and one of them's a EMT that doesn't even live in Lanesboro. However, their ambulance that they do have, which is owned by the fire department, is way old. They have all kinds of issues with it, so. When we've sold these ambulances in the past, we might get $3,000 to $5,000 out of them. Right. So the one that I'm looking getting rid of has 300,000 miles on it. So instead of, and it's still, and it's a Manning, it runs great. Instead of selling it, my thought is put it in Lanesboro so they have an actual, something decent to run out of.
So like, if you had a call in Lanesboro or Lake City, probably come grab that.
Generally not.
Okay.
Well, there's really no responders in Lake City.
Okay.
That's part of Calhoun, so.
I know, but that's why I didn't, it's so close, I didn't know.
If they happen to have somebody there that day, and if we're busy, they'll call, Calhoun County and have them come down.
Yeah, that's what I wondered.
But generally, we go up to Lanesboro and then we go to Laura, or to Stewart. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, very seldom do we ever come back to Carroll. Depending, I mean, depends on what it is, but yeah, I mean, that'd be an ideal place for it. You know, there's no staff to do it. Glidden has, they're quick on their feet. They have a lot of, not, I shouldn't say a lot, but they have a good numbers in Glidden.
That's why I was wondering even with that, you know, working with Calhoun on that, because I was like, if they did in Lake City, I would rather have a agreement open to
Yeah,
handle them, you know.
they don't have the staff.
Yeah.
You did raise medical center 2,000.
Yes.
That includes all stuff locally and the state, right?
Like autopsies and
Yeah.
things like, yeah. Which is why I'm just.
And them can get damn expensive. They get very expensive.
Wait, way to correct yourself.
Huh?
Way to correct yourself.
I know.
We've actually, it seems like we've sent a lot off for autopsy this year.
Does anybody else have any more questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
If
We'll let you know.
either anybody wants to come visit,
Okay,
Probably there eventually.
yeah.
all right, thank you.
Have a good rest of the day. I hope it's not as long as it was last.
All right, Dalton, you're up.
I printed off the.
Oh, thank you.
You want them up, appreciate that.
Do you wanna, did you compute and give me what they requested? And numbers?
Yeah.
You did?
Of who requested.
Huh?
I updated hers with everything. Mine's just penciled in because I'm writing.
Oh,
it
you just
that way.
give her.
Yeah.
Okay,
So she has the, okay,
I got.
sorry, what page are we on here, Dalton?
51. Not apartment 51, sorry. No, 52. I always do that. You and. Sarah,
Yeah.
page 39.
All right. Okay. Everybody ready? Let's roll.
So, going over next year's budget,
39.
Oh. We're hitting Dalton.
so this is for 23-24. For the first line item, just to reflect, obviously our raises and stuff like that.
This isn't at 6%.
Yes, it's a 6% raise.
Real quick, can you jump up? What is the miscellaneous reimbursement? Is that you? The data processing service?
Where you seeing that, data processing services?
Yeah, I don't think you're right up here.
It's not him though, is it?
Yeah, that is.
That is me. I actually made $7, not to brag, I think, if I recall. By returning in some metal that I had.
Say it's very rare that you'd have that.
So
So,
what was the 42,000
that,
or 21?
that was a reimbursement, over for an overpayment, I think, if I recall, or something weird. That
Okay.
stuff.
It was a Tyler thing.
Okay.
Yeah, we paid
Okay.
Tyler twice, I think.
Yeah, that's
or
what it was.
something, and-
All right, perfect. Thank you. All right, sorry, go down if I got it first.
Well, it was either I pay the county sanitation landfill to take the metal, or somebody pays me to take it, so I'm like, I'll make the $7 and I just push it back to the county. Yeah, I turned in $7 of that budget, first time I ever made a profit, so I was pretty proud of that. So, like I said, we went over the salaries line item, FICA, obviously that's what it calculated out to, was the $8,420. Looks like it went down significantly from last year.
Yeah, you have to go there. I did correct it.
Oh,
So
you
when
did
I
correct it?
get yours, it should be 13,826.
So apparently I can't calculate.
That's why we all look at it and make sure you got it right.
13,826, cool. All right, correction, 13,826 for the FICA line item then, to cover, Forrest and I salaries for the year. Hypers, obviously, that's just calculated out to cover us both. I have that 17,614, we have.
1761, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then employee group insurance had 29. Okay. And then, so data processing supplies, we are asking for 8,000 this year. I'm happy to get a budget line amendment for that right now. That's generally like, your peripherals on your computers, which means like your mouse, your keyboards, your screens. If you go around, you see all the computers are mounted on the desk and the screens are all mounted up nice. I usually buy that stuff out of that line item. Computer parts, when things get broken, I buy a lot out of there too. So, it's kind of fluctuates through the year, so it's kind of hard to calculate. Because it just depends on how many projects I have going and, you know, I guess demand, if anything. But, I took it down to $6,000, you know, from the year before, it was 13. And I regretted it, so I cut it too much, so.
So, will this, when the moves are happening, is there enough money in this as far as offices moving and perhaps new things?
So most of the offices, Scott, unless they're buying a new desk or something, if you like walk around, all the screens and the computers already mounted. So I spent the money, a lot of it last year. We just have some, you know, stragglers, some offices aren't done yet. I can tell you like all the treasurer's office, so, and the auditors, like all that stuff will just move, nothing new will go in there unless they buy a new desk. So.
Just wondering if there'll be enough in there, because, okay, we did a budget, we've done, I think, 2 budget amendments for IT. I'm just trying to. Okay,
Are you talking about for this fiscal year? This is the second one?
the courthouse booster thing, the phone booster was one.
Yes, which, I mean, that was kind of just kind of came up where AT&T gave us threw us a bone and gave us like a steal on the booster, you're called.
I'm just wondering when the new supervisor's room, a level below us, when the treasurer comes here,
Yeah,
when the auditor goes over there, and it may not all happen. Hopefully it all happens in fiscal year 24, but I just want to make sure you have enough in these, because
I
why
get you.
ask?
I mean, I could always put a little bit more in, I guess, for.
Well, if you don't foresee it, then let's
Yeah.
don't do it.
Okay, and I mean, I hate to ask for a budget amendment again, obviously too, though, but we can move past that. Okay, so employee mileage and subsistence, that's generally for my mileage reimbursement. I haven't been that diligent on turning anything in this year, because I've been busy as heck. But, I plan on turning like our cell phone through that and starting I have to turn in, probably about 6 months worth of mileage of me running around the county, plus a few other things for Forest, so. But that's, like I said.
I think we need to do those monthly or quarterly at least.
Yeah.
Instead of,
No, I agree, you know, yeah, I just haven't had the time, I guess, or made the time rather, so. Okay, so telephone services, that's like the internet fees, I do pay for the engineer currently. We kind of talked about moving that DR site. When we do that, that'll actually cut down the cost of that. So we may be able to cut that line item down once we get that moved. The reason being is we won't be paying for the T-LAN through Western Hour Networks anymore. And
So
the
where would you move the new site to?
confidential.
Yeah, you can't.
Anyways,
I mean,
Yeah.
is it just because of the service that we go into it?
yeah, the location currently is not great. So the way everything's set up right now, it's set up through internet routing with our internet provider, which is a very costly thing. So during the move, I'm gonna have to reconfigure everything with the lower cost internet and everything and doing a different way of routing without confusing them all. I'll do the routing instead of the internet provider.
and the new location will be in a tornado shelter, correct?
So, and it's further away from, railroad tracks, so I mean,
Yeah.
it eliminates some disaster, so. Any questions on that line item? So that. Okay, moving on then. Data processing services. That's generally where I pay like contractors and stuff out of. A lot of the services and stuff we've had that I have paid out of there or plan to would be like, sometimes I'll call for specialty services, like we utilize ICE technologies, to work on some like, weird server issues that you have to work with support for hours and hours on. So that's kind of what I use that line item for. So I do try to keep some money in there just in case, because, I kind of learned my lesson, with me being on vacation for a week, it was almost, $5,000 worth of, service coverage right there. So you can imagine how fast those line items can get ate up, especially if, I don't have the man hours to cover what I'm doing sometimes. Educational and training services, we really haven't used any of that. We just haven't had the time to really schedule out much training. Now, Service Forest has expressed some interest in doing some network certifications on his own time. So he's doing one that he had already paid for currently. But once he finishes this one, I think he's gonna do a couple more. So I do plan on using that line item just to kind of keep him fresh. And he kind of specializes on the server side, so I think that was something else he was gonna get some more training on, just to feel more comfortable on his part. Moving on to office data processing and maintenance. So we had kind of talked about that. That was where the Tyler Technologies stuff comes out of. So that's why I had to request the budget line amendment for it. I moved that up to 155,527, just because Tyler had went up 30% almost, and I had calculated 15 for this fiscal year. So that's why I'm having to get a budget amendment this year. Any questions on that?
No.
Tyler is a software like according to you.
Everybody.
It's just,
So
does the
basically,
entire state use that?
yeah, that's
Or is
what
it county by county?
it depends. So like by and large, so I understand, like I belong to ICIP, so we like talk a lot, and by and large, I would say 90% of people use Tyler. Yeah, I mean, so it's kind of state standard. A lot of the counties who have their stuff together, that's what they do, but you see the issue with that too, as far as the cost goes up.
They got a monopoly.
Yes, once we get our fingers in, we have, 3 programs running. It ain't easy. It isn't easy just to switch over to a different financial program. I mean, that's hours of training
Absolutely.
and literally building up from the ground.
Well, you remember what
It's good.
happened last time we switched financial software?
So,
We had 3 people retire.
I know.
for good reason.
What? This is just a weird question, but what would it cost? Just to switch and pay, just not the training, but just to switch from Tyler. to someone?
From all that data
Hundreds
and
of
move it
thou-
over.
Probably hundreds of
Yeah,
thousands.
it would be a $300,000-$400,000 project. at
Because
least.
the program itself, when we bought it, was very expensive.
That, and you gotta think about, they would have to convert that database to theirs. So then you gotta pay somebody to sit and do that, which is beyond me.
They just get service fees every year.
Yeah, pretty much. But understand though, what this covers is like, they do software updates monthly. If we call and need support, they're there. So like, there is some good coverage on it where like, I get why they do it, but like you said, I can kind of see
Like I said, when you say Tyler, that explains it all.
yeah. Well, and they've tried pushing other services, like Tyler Protect, for instance, which was like a AV program. I said, absolutely not. Like, I'm not buying anything I don't need, I'm not getting my fingers any deeper than that. So, but I digress. Any other questions on that line item? Yes, ma'am. Dues and memberships. I know like my ICIT renewals come out of there. We belong to a couple other organizations just for IT knowledge, but we took that out of the dues and memberships.
So why was that 4,300 this month, this last year?
What's that?
Current year? Why is it $4,300 this current year?
You up on,
Your lineup.
Dues and memberships. We
That's
paid
what he's talking
Oh,
about.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
We're talking, why is it so much there, but only budgeted 600? That's what he's asking.
let me go look at it.
I know
I
what
can
I'm
pull
talking
it
about.
up and see what's going on there.
No, I'm not looking at it. I got
The one
it.
below goes from 65.
I gotta see what came out of there, guys. Hold on.
Well, that's fine. I mean, there's probably a good explanation, but just.
No, you're good. I don't know. I'm not, I have my budget right here. So that was the dues and membership line, you said? It looks like I actually mispenciled a line item or Forrester, one of us did. I must have mispenciled a line item there and took it out of the wrong one. So that was a good catch.
So that should be up in,
Probably, I'd have to look at the receipt. The backup for VMware, that should be actually out of, data processing maintenance, so that should be one item up. And then that services, I'm assuming is the same, because, yeah, I know it is, same thing, it should be one line item up, so. We just missed the line item
You'll
there.
have to email me and tell me where to put it.
Okay.
Okay. thank you.
Well, thank you, good catch you, that's why that went over.
Good job.
Way to go, Gene. A plus out of you
Keep
today.
eating Wheaties every
Old
morning.
CPA Gene over there.
I
Sorry.
earned my keep today.
Okay, moving on to data processing equipment. We're over this year just from buying, like, we had planned to buy new servers. But we ended up getting a deal, we got the servers and SAMs together. And so that's why I planned on next year spending enough to cover my SAM that I have already, in my rack. And then when I had it installed, they had a service fee to set up everything. So I took that out of that line item for the $7,000. But, I did request a budget amendment for that to get it back to normal. And with a little bit of padding, so I can, possibly buy, some computers. Any questions? Either.
I think Forrest was a good addition.
I have been very happy with them. The reliability and has been next to none, so it's been good.
I do have a question. You said you're gonna move your driveway. So are we gonna pay rent on someplace to put that?
With the county site,
Okay.
yeah.
I flipped and said where it was yesterday.
Yeah, it's okay. I can talk to you later about it too.
Yeah, we're not gonna, no.
No, it doesn't need to be. I just
Needs to be
was
shut
wondering
down.
if there's rent, then we should be adding rent in. That's.
Yeah, no, we don't worry about any of that. And honestly, Gene, if anything, where it's going, like I said, it's gonna save us money because we're gonna switch the internet, fees will go down. So we're getting rid of that routing,
fine,
it costs $700 a month. So the engineer's new internet bill probably gonna be $200 a month. And the other place already has internet we pay for through the county. So you see what I'm saying? So, yeah, it'll be an easy money saving.
Anybody have any more questions? It's all right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions too.
You bet.
later, So.
Sure will be.
We're done for the day.
No. You're not. We got passed out.
What?
I'm sure she'd be happy if you wanna talk to her.
Well, if there's no change, I don't think there's no.
Let me double check on.
Morning.
No, they requested 68,000 total last year.
Cindy here?
and that's
Yeah.
what they're requesting this year.
Yeah, she ran to the
Your
restaurant.
husband leave you last night? Was he still in there?
He was around.
It's already come, but then I heard they weren't doing ribeyes.
Serious? That's your problem?
I know, not good.
Okay. All right, let's kind of pick up where we did yesterday. Thanks, guys, for coming back too.
Yeah.
Allowing us to
Pretty close.
keep on our agenda yesterday, so I'll go ahead and let you take it over, Ken. You
Okay,
came up with-
okay, well, the sheet I handed you, it's a sheets. Is what you guys asked me to put together. I was gonna do I had quite an eloquent Venn diagram I was gonna do in honor of Kamala Harris, but I just chose my simple
I love those.
diagram, so gee. So this is pretty simplistic. You gotta pull it up on YouTube, Gene, I'll show you later.
If you watch Fox News, you would have seen it.
I don't watch. or-
At least we
I
gotta
don't
get
watch
laughter right
YouTube.
now.
So anyway, I got Carroll County in the top there with the two projected raises. Population, and then below Carroll goes smallest population to the largest for counties surrounding us. And I've got what their current salary is and what they're projected to be. That's pretty compelling. But I did average the 6 counties that surround us, and that average comes to almost 72,000. And then the following pages are nothing but emails I got back from the auditors. I got a hold of yesterday. And some have settled, some haven't yet. I did put what they're proposing. But not yet settled. And just for, Mike, you might know this, we talked quite a bit for Cindy, we are the lowest staff sheriff's department for any county in the state over 20,000 people.
And see, these are, well, Crawford. Stuff 4,000 people, but they have almost as many people as you do.
Yeah.
And they have.
And Guthrie's asking for 2 more deputies,
Oh, yeah.
and they're half our size.
Holy smokes.
And then you're taking people from other towns,
What was that?
you're taking people.
Yeah, in the jail, absolutely, yep.
Well, this doesn't have the jail, it's just.
No, this is just deputies, that's where we left off yesterday, like you guys asked, but. Yeah, and we are the only county around us that houses prisoners forever.
Will Guthrie have that capacity when they get done? Are they building more?
They didn't build that big a jail.
32,
Yeah,
32 beds, so there's a possibility they could take a few.
It'll be a while.
They're still working on it, yeah, they had to replace a bunch of glass and, I just talked to the chief deputy today, so we're still waiting.
Where's the nearest facility besides yours and Guthrie? Not yours, like Carroll County Jail and Guthrie. That takes some extra prisoners, that was the next closest.
BV, Dallas. They built a new jail a few years ago, otherwise you gotta go to Council Bluffs or Sioux City, I don't know if they house for other people or not, they probably do, they probably take federal inmates.
Well, I think there's, some of them up, Lion or one of them up to Sioux. take some federal prisoners. One of them, I think, and it may not be, I might be off. I know one of them that belongs to juvenile detention of the board, they talk about it.
Eldora,
Well, that's
whatever
all right.
county that is, they used to hold all the ice. that they used.
Is that Iowa?
Yeah,
But there's one couple up there close to the whole federal.
right. Any questions from anybody on this? I mean, like I said, it's pretty straightforward. Paints a pretty good reason why we're asking.
So then on these, what you're asking for on just the sheriffs, deputies, is you're asking for 6 and 6 or 12, or what was your asking on that? So
12's the end goal this year.
This year? I mean, more next year?
We'll see what the economy's doing. I mean, I'm sure there'll be a raise of some kind.
Well, absolutely. But
Um,
will
But-
this get,
but I-
will this put you in the market range where you wanna be?
I'd feel a lot more comfortable about things.
What is your, I can't remember, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank, but what does a jailer make an hour, just average?
Jailer an hour?
Yeah.
Let's see that right now. Currently, under this fiscal year. $22.4.
Thank you.
This is one of these is what you getting, or not replacing, right? One of these top salaries, or which one is it? You know, it doesn't change
Look at the highest one here.
No, I
I
don't
don't
see
think
her
she's
there.
on, she's not on here and she won't be here next year.
No, you're good.
Sure.
How long do you guys want it? But they're working under the room underneath
We got
us.
other stuff we can absolutely do.
Wait a little bit, so we don't have to yell, we're gonna yell at each other anyway,
How
we don't need to use
Can we
you
say
for.
15 minutes? 15 more minutes. Don't even come ask about salary. Fire up. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's at like 54. She's not on that list because.
Yeah, she's at 54, 546.
Okay. Now, reflecting back to your budget, did you have time to go over that and maybe look at some areas where you could decrease any?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I can, easy enough. I mean, we spotted a few yesterday. And if you want, real quick, I didn't finish going all the way through the rural part of the budget. You want me to touch on that? I know where I left off.
What page were we on, Ken, as far as the?
You're gonna be on page 9, that's like one I sent you
Alright,
for rural, I'm not sure where you left off.
It ended with, insurance.
So you're gonna have to be on page 10 at the top, so, okay.
And with insurance, we have a. Yeah, after insurance, I explained why that went up with one of our deputies got married. His wife's gonna have a child soon. Ammunition, 8,500. 7,000 for uniforms. 90,000 for motor vehicle equipment, that's fuel, tires, batteries, oil changes. And then any equipment we order for a new vehicle, computers. Lights. All that stuff. And then I have $70,000 budgeted for 2 new vehicles, if we can get them. And I raised that up 10,000 from the year before, just because all these things have gone up. And it really does stink that I have no idea what we're gonna get for trade-in value. I talked to Chief Burke the other day, and they've been selling stuff on this, basically it's a government site, and I think we're gonna try that.
A purple auction.
What was that?
No,
No.
Purple Wave isn't government. I don't know what.
He said it last night at the city council, meeting, like a government, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's basically a government site.
Said they're
So it'd
bringing,
be Purple Wave, but government.
but they're bringing more money.
Yeah, they're getting more money, Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Somebody might need a 2019 Ford Explorer for a K9 unit because that's the insert they have that goes in there.
How many miles is on it?
What was that?
How many miles is on it?
Well, the one we're gonna trade has 140 some thousand on it, and then the pickup we're trading has.
What are you gonna want for it?
An Explorer with 140,000? I'll tell you what I'd get for it, it ain't very much. Hopefully we can get more than that.
That's just that thing is, you know, the yes center's always been looking for. And some of them counties have been kind of. Give them goodbye on them.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
that's kind of what Berg said too on his last night, you know.
I know we've talked about that before.
Because if they got the cage, that's the biggest problem, the damn cage. Those dang cages there fit. And every bit they.
If they want it, do they pay for them or is it donation?
Well, they give them pretty reasonable.
It's just like that sheep gate where you just donate it and they fix it up.
Well,
and
they
sell
don't expect you to donate it, but I mean, they pay for
it.
it.
Okay, yeah, we could have a script and leave the cage in it and
Oh, for the yes center?
Yeah.
be a
But I
good
think
vehicle for
there's
that.
as many miles they're putting on, I think they're looking at buying some more new stuff too.
Okay,
But
Busy.
there you can't buy, you know, that they were trying to get them pals, you can't get them anymore.
but so that ends the rural side. So other than wages, little increase in insurance and vehicles, everything stays pretty much the same. And that concludes our budget. Scott, is that kind of what you were looking for?
It is.
when we talked
It is,
yesterday?
I wanna make sure we're like, can flip to page, go to Sac County, for instance. 'Cause I had some trouble. It would be like the fourth one back, page,
Look
the
at
fourth
top
page.
Under the email header.
Yeah. From Jonah or Joanna Taylor. But so when you did the average, did you include the sheriff in there?
No, I didn't do an average. You'll.
Well, I'm referring back to your page one.
Yep, take the sheriff off there. If you're looking at Sac County sheet. Administrative assistant, take her off. And then the one at 76,000 was a chief deputy. So I didn't include that one. Then if you look, they have their starting date. 3 of 21, 3 of 21, 2 of 21. They've hired a lot of new ones. The number I used is the deputy that's been there since 1/30 of 2015.
So that's what I wanted to know.
That's the
Okay.
only one I used,
That's,
because all my guys have at least that much.
I was having
Unused
trouble
experience.
doing the same thing.
Okay. So that's how I,
But on the front sheet, you have there being 8 deputies. Well, really, if you take out,
What's your, is Malone or who's the? Been here.
Austin, Austin hired the newest.
yeah,
Austin.
That's what-
Okay. And he's been here how long? Yeah.
4 years.
4 years, right?
but Ken, can we go through each one and just, I wanna understand how you're getting your numbers on the first sheet.
Okay,
So let's go to green.
Charles, what it is.
okay.
So where did you start with the deputies? Was S. Allen the first deputy you took
Let me find the.
when you were doing the average?
Looks like Monty. I'll just say that.
Cause yet there's,
Yeah, I use that Monty. For 61,076, senior deputy there.
so those are, so what is on sheet one really isn't an average. You just picked one comparable deputy.
With years of experience.
Yeah, exactly. But I just wanted to,
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't gonna sit there and do an average when they got guys that only have a couple of years. I'm sure they're on a sliding pay scale, kind of like we are when we start here. I explained that yesterday, how we go from. there's an 18
6
month
months,
period,
80% to 85%.
85 to 90, 90 to 95, then up to 100. So I just went right to the 100% guy. Cause all my guys are at 100%. And then, yeah, go through each one, Scott, ask me.
So let's go,
Go Calhoun there. Are you where you at?
it doesn't, the next one's stack behind
Staff
that.
technically only has 6, right?
You did SAC already.
Yeah, but they only have 6 deputies.
1, 2,
It's 8,
4,
counting the
5,
sheriff.
6,
I count
7.
myself on our 10 too.
Oh, you do?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And
That's right.
John and,
Yep.
okay, gotcha.
John's a half, good, throw in there.
As a full.
No, that's what I wanted. So Calhoun's very confusing.
Probably way confusing.
Al?
I mean, are they CD one, FC 4, or?
So who is this one? This last page?
Yeah, I didn't know who that was.
Crawford. That's all I got was a copy of the union contract. They're actually in negotiations right now. Today, so
Oh,
I had to
okay, I
go,
see.
this is the 22-23. Yeah, Calhoun, they basically just list out each deputy.
Where do you?
So on your,
Calhoun's a real complicated, a real.
79.
so yeah, you have the cell 79,413. So do you have the fiscal year 23, the current right now?
This is their the number I listed for Calhoun is their 23-24 budget.
Says it up on the.
So it says that up on the very top left. Right above step in real little letters.
Yep,
Okay.
79, 4, 3, 4, 1, 3.
So there I can see you use the CD 5, the deputy after 5 years or 3
3
years.
years, right? Yep. They have a big step program there, don't they? Like you start at 64 and.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Guthrie's is,
Oh, you know, it might be confusing, but it also has the dispatchers pay. So that's kind of nice to have a comparison.
78,553 at Guthrie.
Yeah, and I use their rate of 4 deputies a day, 3%, which means their senior deputies probably have more than
Yeah.
3 years of experience.
On which one, Ken?
Guthrie.
Guthrie right here.
And I'm not bashing Guthrie, more power to them, but for a county, for the population that big, I mean, Penora's got their own police department.
Guthrie Center probably does.
Stewart does. No, they do Guthrie.
The county does.
Yeah.
Well. Calhoun seems to do everything to the extreme. up
Yeah, we
there.
don't know how.
They do it with the library, they do it with
The ambulance, we just
the
found out.
ambulance, they do it with the fair, public health. I mean, they're just,
I'm not asking for extreme. Not even close to what they're at.
Okay, so what is a full-time, what is the full-time civil division? Is that,
That'd be like Sean and Melissa in our office. Civil-
okay,
They used to be called civil deputies years ago. They
Back
process
when
all the
Ruth
civil,
was what?
civil papers and that type of thing.
okay, thank you. Anybody else have any more questions?
Take it all in.
Right, it's a lot.
It's a simple diagram from a simple man. Say it.
Trying to keep focused here. Well.
Let's see.
Yeah. Different subject, yeah.
I personally do not have any more questions. somebody else has a question, please speak up, or if you guys need time to absorb it. let me know.
One of two, right, there's 20 people. And then there's one up here.
Tom,
Oh, it's
that's
up here, right
Branson,
here.
and then the singer is Brett Singer.
Yeah. So there's 21 people involved in this, people here. That's good.
Oh, yeah, the office staff and,
Yeah.
Did you count?
actually 23, Mike.
So Ken's on here and so is John, and they're not affected with what he's
That's what I'm
asking.
saying. So
Okay,
you have
okay.
23.
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
This
Good catch, yeah.
is
Yep, 21.
affecting 21 people.
Yep.
So I'm
Yep,
saying.
you're right.
By looking at this data, I think that there needs to be a market adjustment, but I don't know how you do this. I don't know.
Well, that's for you guys. We're the second from the bottom. Totally agree. Green County,
Yeah.
we're falling behind a lot. And I'm not gonna ask for more staff. We get by good with what we got. I got some great people. I don't want more help.
I'm curious.
Well-
So going forward and future years, that additional revenue. I know the state code says you can withhold 60, is it 60 or 65%?
60.
I don't know how to phrase this correctly, but I'd like to see some of that profit go towards the jail deck.
I've got no problem putting it all back in there. It's just where we wanna come up with. Truly, the money for these raises that we're asking for is a pittance compared to what the jail's bringing in. I got no problem. I don't want all 60%. I'm just saying it could be used to cover some of these raises. For years, we've given everything we've made back to general fund. I'm happy to keep doing that. I don't want the money, we need it, and, let it pay down the debt.
And my problem is, I mean, sure, you're generating revenue. But not every department generates revenue. You see what I'm getting at?
Sure.
So we can't, I don't like to use that. Because it's not,
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Because some people get.
it's like right
Because it's
here,
still a
they don't
service.
generate any revenue.
We're providing, the government.
And
provides
she's
a
the one that
service.
gets the short end of the stick all the time.
My something of this doing the numbers is. They're. The sheriff's department, jailers, all them combined by not. Replacing, is it Stu or whoever, don't matter, that's gonna save the county roughly 75,000. You divide that by 21, it's 3571. To me, I think, if you make a market. Fix there and give them that plus their 6, it's not 12, but dang close.
So what would the perfect market number be? Well,
That's what-
they're at
that's what-
65, 532, where? Did you come up with a number where you think they should be right now, prior to a 6% raise?
And the reason I don't like, yeah. Where's that number at on? Where would you like them to be on that base? What's your opinion on that? In relevance to these other.
In all
people?
honesty,
Yeah.
at the top.
Yeah.
Just because of the staff we've got and the longevity, at the top, but I'm being realistic here. The 12% puts it right at, if you, like I said, if you take all these 6 counties that surround us and you average their salaries out between the 6 of them, it comes out to about 73,000. The 12% we've asked for puts us right at the average,
73,397.
not above, not below, but right in the average.
If you divide that out, how I did that, it's roughly 11%, is what it comes out to, without basically costing the county a dime.
So
My taxpayers.
we might be on three different subjects here. Are we talking comm center? Are we talking sheriff? Or are we talking
This is
jailer?
just strictly
strictly-
sheriff,
21 people involved in this share.
deputy, so that would be your deputies and your jailers.
Right.
This is not comm center.
I did that spreadsheet, before I had the comm center budget, that's why it's not on there.
Cause here's that's a 6% raise on their deal now. What I was saying is 35.71, so it's within $400. So it's basically 5% plus that's how I came up with that number. You know what I mean? So that, in my eyes, that's just me doing my math, saying that right there, it doesn't cost the taxpayer a dollar compared to what we.
Yeah, and I know you guys got a decision to make.
Yeah.
Tough decision, but consider all.
Yeah.
The fact, I mean, what we're gonna
Absolutely.
save by not replacing somebody, what we save by doing our own maintenance and custodial work over there,
Cafeteria changes.
cafeteria changes,
That was, I mean, that's a direct cost.
so. And like I said, I'm not asking for more staff. I think we're sitting good. Yeah. Good keep it together. Don't worry about.
So
all the
somebody,
scandals going around.
somebody explained to me how these other counties are doing what they're doing.
I don't know.
Audubon County, I don't know, I mean, you've been down Audubon County.
I wish I made that when I worked down there
I mean,
22
they
years
don't have the
ago.
valuation, they don't have the population.
I don't,
I mean,
I
You've
think,
gotta be charging
here's what,
people to
here's what I
know.
think. Audubon probably followed back to Blue to a T. And their deputies have always been attached at, I believe, 80% of the sheriff's wage. The chief deputy makes 85% of what the sheriff makes, and the deputies make 80%.
and I understand some departments do that.
And
I don't know if that's a good idea, was it?
a lot of departments do it. That's how Guthrie
There's a
is.
mix right here of, we've got one union contract, we've got two of them, actually 2.5 that are a percentage of their deputy, and then we have just flat fee the way you got it.
Yeah, and
You as
I
a
think
elected,
Audubon was losing. I'm being honest with you. I think I've been gone from Audubon County for 22 or 23 years. And they've had probably between 35 and 40 deputies turnover in that time down there.
With that pay.
No, it was lower pay.
Oh, okay.
It was lower pay.
So they're trying to make up to.
I think they're just trying to
Hold
retain
some
personnel. Yep.
people do.
Yep. We're gonna say, Gene,
well, I just feel like a lot of things done, they seem like I just. They gotta be paying, charging tax for it.
So here's the next thing I wanna, and I think Steph was hitting on it earlier. So like, say this happens, you know what I mean? And we try getting these people back into the marketplace. Say in 2 years, we freeze all everyone's pay because this economy's in the shitter. I mean, I think she's worried about you coming in and saying, we'll give them a raise out of this fund out of the jail, you know, when that, like, say the whole county's on a freeze or something, you know what I mean? I think that was one of your,
if that was the case, I wouldn't be here right now.
I know, I'm just bringing everything to the table.
I'm gonna do everything above board, and I'm not, if, I hope the economy's a lot better by
Yeah.
then.
But I'm just
But
bringing
it's
everything to
not-
the table.
Yep.
This is, like I said, this is more or less a one-time deal. We gotta get up into the marketplace there.
But that's what, there was questions yesterday, is this a one-time adjustment, or is next year gonna be if regular employees get 4%, is law enforcement deserve 6 or 8? Or will this get you to the marketplace where you need to be?
I feel it gets us to the marketplace.
Yeah, that
So
was.
it's not where I'd ideally like to be. I
But it's in the
I
right
look at
direction.
Carroll County as, you know,
Yeah,
the
it would
hub
be
here, and
nice to be the employer of choice where
Yeah.
people wanna come here and
I think
you
we
need to
are, I
retain
think
what you have.
we are employee of choice, we just need to get the
And-
money there.
it's a.
We don't have
It's a good
turnover.
place to live and work. I mean, we got deputies that live out in the country, we got definitely live in Arcadia, Glidden, I mean, we got people.
Coon's
spread out.
overpopulated.
It's overpopulated. We gotta get a few
Overpopulated.
out
We're
of
gonna
there.
need you guys to talk about it.
Take Casimir up and breed them.
Ken, you can relocate to Lanesboro.
There you go. That's on my,
That's
been
right,
looking.
you're neck in the woods.
It'll be your summer home.
No, and I agree. I think there needs to be a market adjustment. I just get concerned for the future because, and this has nothing to do with your budget, but the state and their backfill for the I will and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, until administration changes over and they pull that from us. So sometimes I get concerned that what we do now doesn't get construed for future boards or things like that, that we all get on the same page. Cause I do believe there isn't a market. There does need to be a market adjustment. I appreciate you guys willing, especially you, Mr. Pingree, for lowering maybe some budgetary items if we need to and not replacing the one lady, like Mike had said. You know, it is basically a wash
a
when it
wash
comes
for the
to the taxpayers.
yeah, that right there between wage and insurance.
Yeah, you can do the
it-
12 without
This,
it.
this falls.
And I know there's a couple other line items we could even lower too, if we
Yeah,
needed to.
several
yeah, and then
So,
like the custodial.
I'm just going
Sure,
forward in the
right,
future, whoever your
2000
successor is, I want to make sure that they're on the same page as well.
I understand.
And I agree with what she's saying. I think my biggest concern, we keep these numbers keep getting bigger. How much this can sustain over
yeah.
time? And with the state the way they are down there, now they're gonna try to pull that local option sales tax. I got news for you, they don't have the best reputation of handing it all back. Cause I remember when the bank franchise tax was here, we don't have that anymore. They are disaster.
I have other
Yeah, it's
ideas
hard.
for the state.
Look at the bright side, Gene. Always look at the bright side.
I try to. But I've seen too much stuff in my past history.
I know.
So have I, and that's what scares me.
This is nothing to do with the
Okay.
comp center.
Got it. I just know that.
I think unfortunately, we're catching up and the 12% is catching up from past years, as you see the. We're down.
That's
towards
why
the Bottom, so, you know.
I was looking for a number to say they should
Yeah,
be at, they should be at 70,000 right now, and then 6%, or then the annual county increase after that's what I was trying to get was an actual number.
Here's another thing, we've talked about this before, when somebody wants a raise, what do we say? Find it within your budget, and I feel like he found it within his budget. Wait, I know we've talked about that before, I'm just stating that, so,
That doesn't work for elected officials though.
I know. He's
I'm
not
not
asking.
asking for
He's-
myself.
he's the one
No,
that's
I
asking.
know. I'm just saying, somebody got completely.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, I understand that, what I'm saying.
But yeah, for your staff, I get it. I mean, that's a.
I understand it.
But yeah, you and I have had this conversation every year that we need to get caught up, and you always say it's not the year. This is the time.
Want to be attractive if people.
What
Want
was
to
that?
be attractive if people want to relocate here from somewhere else. Be competitive, you know.
That, and my whole goal is I'd be tickled pink if I never hired another person in the next 4 years. If I never had to.
Retention is key.
I hate hiring people right now. It's terrible.
Well, and I
I
think
don't
we
wanna
are
do
in, we're in a point in time where, and we just got caught with that with IT. I mean. The market is changing and some of these people are able to write. Their salaries. When we got another one coming up in a couple of weeks here. It's gonna be the same damn way.
I agree.
Does
And
anybody
it's
else
kind
have
of,
any?
hard to swallow when you're a guy that never had big salaries.
I'd rather you make it 40,000 and have everything else low. I mean, I don't want this inflation.
Oh, I know, hell, I've always said when I first started working, $1.75 an hour. Hell, I had more jingle in my pocket than I do now.
Does anybody have any
Buying
more
gas for
questions?
25 cents a gallon.
Stick all day.
No,
No, it's not, stick around all day.
Any questions?
We can talk about.
Going once, going twice, out of here. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it very much.
Did
If
you-
anybody has any questions.
Do we want to talk about comp center?
I think it needs to be because it was above the 6%.
There's nothing to talk about until someone brings something like this to me. You guys could discuss it. I'm not gonna.
Well,
Like
you have-
comparables.
you do have one comparable within this packet. I highlighted it.
Well, and I'm gonna say a statement, and some people are probably gonna get checked about it. I mean, you made a statement that, well, he did this and he did that. Well, I think that's everybody's duty, what that's their job description, they do those duties. I mean, to pay them extra for it. If it's part of their job duties, just like me, when I do my job here, I'm gonna do what I do and I have to do, I'll do it. I'm not gonna expect any more for it, you know what I'm getting at?
Well, consider it.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Like I said, if anybody has any questions, let me know. They have a tough job too.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing that
I'm
the
not
job's not
disagreeing with
tough.
it. I want comparables. I really do. I can't.
Not Des Moines.
I don't know.
So what was their comparable there?
It's 42 to 56, depending on what they are.
56,000,
It's
And then what
42
are your
for-
guys?
42,000.
Yeah, it's 52 to 46.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
42 to 56.
So that's the only comparable,
only
yeah.
comparable we have, and it was just happened to be on the sheet.
Who's that?
Kind of
What was their rate?
Anywhere from 42 to
started
56.
cheap.
Yeah, and the 56s, they're cheap. That's kind of why I went to that, because that is what Jason is.
They're asking for the whole deal.
Yeah.
That's what
Oh, okay.
I'm saying. If you can get comparables or if it's your deal, it's.
Yeah, if I do, I'll email them out to everybody. But,
Or Jason can get that. You can
Yeah,
guys communicate with Jason, just tell him we'd like some better comparables. I mentioned that in our pre-budget. I was not a fan of the Des Moines. I think if people want to live in Des Moines, they're gonna live in Des Moines. If people want to drive Des Moines, they're
That's
gonna
not a
drive Des Moines.
comparable.
Just like Mike said, he's gonna,
I get 150 grand, I'll sit there all day long.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I know.
So
so,
it's not a comparable. Population's not comparable. But I'm more willing to look at them. You can get them. Just like this, you know what I mean?
Why didn't you let me know instead of me trying to pull teeth from the neighboring county auditors that you just make one phone call and you get everything you want?
Everybody's like, hey, I just talked to a supervisor from there and he seemed kind of shady. so-
No.
Well, there was a deputy talking to me down in Austin.
Yeah,
you got a
traffic
personal,
stop.
But you know what he told me? I don't know, and I don't care, he said, all I know is the check shows up.
Braden has the speed limit. Gene didn't know that.
I did too,
okay.
I started picking up too fast.
You guys, any more questions? If not, we're gonna go ahead and adjourn.
So move, make a motion to adjourn.
Once again, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Maybe I was coming in
All right,
again.
We saved the best for last.
we got to put it in a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?